So today we got a question from a guy who I think is in his late 30s, maybe early 40s. He doesn't say that, but based upon the question, the way it's put, I think so. And he was saying that there was a 17-year-old kid in the gym recently who, he can see is going through something. He said the kid's been there for a while. The kid talked about being bullied when he was younger. And he says now, just the other day, there was something that showed emotional distress. And so this older guy who's been through some stuff in his life, he wants to reach out and help this kid. What you're asking is about mentoring. And he's saying that, he doesn't know what the best way to do it is because he wants to help this kid out, share some experience and some wisdom with him to try to help him along on his own path. But he says that, he doesn't want to embarrass him. He doesn't want to make the kid feel humiliated, but he wants to sort of reach out to him, maybe like a cool brother or, cool uncle type situation. So, brother, thank you for the question. And I'm going to share two stories with you that I think might be useful because I think sometimes we can overcomplicate this idea of just helping people out. Like, it's like I don't know if it's like the social media thing or what, but like people are in need of help. And instead of just reaching out and doing something simple, a lot of times we overcomplicate the situation, myself included sometimes. But I think that these will kind of give you a good starting place with this situation on maybe how to help mentor someone or how to give back to people around you. So the first story, while it's not exactly the same thing, I think that you'll get it at the end when I bring it all together. So the first story comes from when I was a kid. I remember it was our first year that my mom, my two sisters, and me were all together in a home. So my mom had gotten over alcoholism. She was kind of winning that battle, right? She wasn't drinking anymore. And I remember our first Christmas where we were in a home because we had moved out of our one-bedroom apartment. Our landlord and my mom got Section 8 housing, and we were able to get this small home, two, three-bedroom home, and we were all there. It was cool. And I remember, that first year, my mom was pulling herself up. She didn't have a lot of money for gifts. And so our tree didn't have a lot of stuff as it was getting close to Christmas. I remember on December 23rd that year, we got a knock on the door. It was one night, and it was on a Saturday night. We get a knock on the door, and a couple people from our local church had come there. And they handed my mom a box of food, and they also handed her some gifts. Now, me, at first, I wasn't paying attention to the food. I'm not worried about the food. But then all of a sudden, I see the gifts. I'm like, oh, there's wrapped gifts. I get excited because I'm thinking, man, there might be toys in there, which there were. And I was excited about that. And it's cool because that year between the people at the church, our landlord, friends, family, all this kind of stuff, between all those people contributing to help my mom out, we had a lot of gifts, for what we had going on at the time. So that was a pretty awesome experience. And that really touched me. Just as a kid, I didn't realize it, but it really touched me to see how people can just chip in like that. They didn't have to, but they did. And then this for about 5 years here at the gym, we just finished it this past weekend. We do a toy drive. And so basically what I do is I just say, hey, we're doing an open mat. If you want to come train, and just donate some gifts for a local organization. The organization is something that I think it's a beautiful thing. Basically, they help out single parents who are going to school and trying to learn some skills so they can pull themselves up out of a bad spot. And they help them out with housing and all that stuff. But they don't have a lot of extra for toys. And so basically we gather some toys, and we donate them so this way, those kids can have a better Christmas. It's just a cool thing. And so that was my way of sort of paying that sort of idea forward. I'll talk more about that in a second. Now, the second idea that I want to share with you, this is a little bit more directly related to what you're talking about, mentoring someone. Years ago at the gym, let's go back. In high school, I almost forgot this part. In high school, I had a high school coach that would pick me up. My football coach would pick me up from my home and take me to the practices, which was nice because it saved me the public bus ride, which would take an hour to get there when it was only like a 20-minute drive. And he just did this one day because he asked me if I needed a ride, and I said sure if you're offering, and he would come pick me up. And the only payment I ever gave him was an occasional burger from a fast food place. Other than that, he was just doing it, and it was really awesome because during this time period, or during these car rides, he would pick me up and we would just chat, just as friends. He's 10 years older than me. He's given me some experience. He's going through his own stuff, but he's just chatting with me as a friend. And then when we would hit the field, he's a coach. So I'm like, whatever he says, I got to do. But when we were over in the car, none of that was going on. He was just chatting with me. And because of that, a lot of the things that he said stuck. And a lot of lessons that he shared that he maybe didn't even think about sharing, they stuck. He just kind of, rubbed off on me because he wasn't an adult trying to ram something down my throat, which is, a lot of times what happens. We have family members, fathers, mothers, all this stuff going on, and they all have an agenda for us. He didn't have an agenda. He's just chatting with me. And it really helped me out a lot as a young guy. Now, fast forward, get back to my part in this. We had a kid here when, maybe this was like probably almost 10 years ago. There was a kid in here in the gym who was a teenager. His name was Chad. he's a black belt now. And Chad was here in the gym, and he he needed a ride, and he one day, I think he posted on our Facebook group, he said, hey man, I need a ride, anybody give me a ride? And I told him I would. So I started picking him up and taking him home every day. I would pick him up from his house, take him to the gym, take him back home. Sometimes we'd stop and get food, whatever. Now, in the gym, I was the coach, and I would lay down the law and lay down the hammer. If we're training hard, whatever. In the car ride, I was never trying to be that way to him. I would just chat with him, hang out with him, listen to him, because he's going through his own stuff. And again, I did this at first. I didn't really realize what I was doing, but then I kind of realized I'm doing the same thing that Coach B was doing for me. Basically, I'm trying to be an adult that's listening to you, that has no agenda for you. I'm just hanging out with you. If he was being stupid, which there was a couple times, I'd give him a little like, hey man, I'd call him out a little bit. But other than that, I'm just listening to him. And because of that, a lot of the things that I said, I think rubbed off on Chad and stuck with him, because he realizes I had no agenda for him. I had no expectations. I'm not trying to push something down your throat. He's a man and he's got to walk his own path. I've got to walk my own path, but at the same time, I can just lay some experience down for you. And that's the way that, basically my mentorship towards him began. And it was just being there, just being cool, just like that. And so with that, I want to sort of get into the advice I give you. So in both of those situations, and I have more to share, but again, for the sake of keeping this video under 10 minutes, because I'll talk forever, this is my suggestion to you. And the way that I would kind of nudge you forward. Move from a place of significance to you. Meaning, do some soul searching. What was a way that someone touched you? Especially if you're talking a mentorship from a male to another male. Think about another male that was there for you, an older guy, who reached out to help you out. Right? Think about someone like that did that, and think about how they did that, and then just in your own way, do the same thing. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. And that's a good place to start. Now, the other sort of caveat to that is maybe you didn't get something that you should have had. Sometimes you can think about what's something I would have liked to had, or like to have. Like, for instance, I sponsor some of the guys that compete because I know when I was younger how expensive it was and how tough it was when I was younger. And so I try to, again, help the people out that maybe don't have the funds to compete, especially when they're younger, try to help them out as much as I can, because I'm in a situation to do so now. But it was something that I wish I would have had. The second part to it is make sure you don't go into the mentoring sort of role or the cool uncle, as you said, role with any expectation for this person. Okay, it's one of the things where, especially a teenager, he's got family, he's got mother, father, all that stuff, whoever, and it's like telling him what to do, how he should do it, and they probably have all kinds of things that they think he should be doing. You just want to be a friend to them. You just want to listen. And when you go about it that way, what happens is when they realize that you're not out for any sort of because again, they're like, what does he want? What is he going to try to tell me? This damn adult, what's he going to try to shove down my throat? And when they realize that that's not what you're after, you're just there to help them. You're just there to listen, whatever, be a friend. Then they soften to you and they'll listen to you, just like I did for my coach, just like Chad did with me. Right? Because, and I know this to be true because sometimes Chad would do things that I didn't even think he was listening to me. And then later on, I would realize, he was listening to me, because again, when we know someone's just out there for our own interest or for our best interest, not just theirs, we listen. And so what I would say, brother, is just kind of move from that position. Come from a place of your own heart towards another person. That's it. Simple as that. Help them out. And then just simply come at it with no expectation, no agenda. Just be there to help another human being. And, for any of you guys watching this, I would encourage you guys to just be cool to another human being. Do whatever you can, because sometimes you don't know. Seemingly insignificant things. I can tell you guys so many stories of seemingly insignificant things where an adult, a friend, whomever reached out to help me out, and it literally changed my life. And so sometimes just a small act of kindness, a small helping hand to someone can go such a long way. And so again, if there's someone that's done something for you, pay it forward and do it in your own way to someone else, because that small act of kindness can change someone else, but it's also, it's powerful for your own soul. So anyway, brother, thank you so much for the question. And guys, I'll talk to you next time.